Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. In the current session, I am going to talk about the pronunciation of Old English. Well, my dear students, for a student of the history of English language, it is really important to understand how the pronunciation of English language evolved, how it passed through different stages, and what changes came in it. In fact, like all other languages in the world, English language too has passed through so many changes of pronunciation over the times or over the centuries that sometimes it is really difficult for a student or for a reader, for that matter, to understand which symbol means what and how it is pronounced. However, the objective of this session is that after completing this, you would be able to understand what were the main features or characteristics of the pronunciation of Old English, and you would not only be familiar with the pronunciation, but also you would be familiar with how it was represented through different symbols. When we talk of the pronunciation of Old English, the most striking feature, my dear students, is that it is different. It is different from modern English, so that sometimes it literally, feels like French. It is difficult to read today because A, we do not understand the representations of those spoken symbols. B, we do not have any precedents or any examples as such recorded in history at any time. As you know that there are two main types of sounds in any language, vowels and consonants. So English language has gone through changes both in terms of vowels and consonants. However, in the current session, I am focusing only on the production as well as representation of vowel sounds. One of the striking features of the pronunciation of Old English was that it had a single phoneme consisting of a pair of voiced and voiceless allophones, whereas modern English has two separate phonemes. I assume that you already know what do I mean by allophone and what do I mean by voice and voiceless. The Old English arrangement was not inherited from Proto-Germanics but arose in prehistoric Old English by processes of assimilation. The term assimilation comes from the word assimilate or assimilated, so you can make a wild guess about what is assimilation even if you do not know what exactly the term means. Old English language used 6 vowel symbols. Before I explain those symbols, I would like you to notice a couple of things. The first thing that I want you to notice is, here I have used the term vowel symbols, but through the session I have been using the words vowel, vowel symbol, vowel sound, and representation of vowel. Well, the term vowel is a general term that would be used for both the sound and its written form. Vowel pronunciation or vowel sound, these are the two terms that would be used for and that are in the study of language used for the sound itself. Whereas representation of a vowel or vowel symbol, these are the two words that are a synonym in terms of meaning, and they both stand for the graphic representation or writing of a vowel. Here, if you notice at the screen, what you would find out is we have certain symbols here: A, I, E, O, and U. I pronounced them. When I pronounced them, we would call them vowel sounds, but I have encircled them here, and these circles show how they are symbolically represented, which means how they are written. There is a 7th symbol, this one, E. This is called ash in linguistics. All of these are representing both the long and short vowels. So, for example, O or O. For example, room has oo sound. This is what we call a long vowel. But rod, O here. Notice room, oo, long, rod, O. So that is long and short respectively. But in Old English, unlike modern English where we have different signs for oo and for o, there would be the same sign. In the same way, for all the other sounds, e, a, o, single sound represents both the vowels, the long and the short. Here you can see the vowel sounds of Old English from the early West Saxon times, and what you can notice again here is, I would not talk about each one of them differently. I just want you to notice their pronunciation here. Notice the word. So, bath, even if it is longer, the same a sound would be used. In the same way, if you notice this particular sound, what you would notice is, for et or eight, for both it is used. In the same way, notice now this one, e. For example, ill, tree. So, ill and tree. Notice these two words. One has shorter one, the other one here, tree, has a longer one. Same goes for, as I have given you already the example of room. You can notice the word chose, o sound here. Room, I have already given you the example here. So all these sounds are pronounced both on the level of the shorter vowels and on the level of the longer vowels, but they are represented with this particular set of symbols that is given here. Here, if you look at the slide that is shown to you, you can notice that certain vowel sounds are represented. I would like you to notice, for example, this one. This A. This sound, A. Well, in Southern English, this is pronounced as bad, A sound. When you look at the second sound here, notice A sound here. In the same way, in the third one, you can notice the prolonged E sound that is shown as this one, but that is represented here as a sound here. Notice the word tree, E sound. So, this O is chose, O, chose, O. Compare this now with this one. Oo, room. So, O, oo. You can notice the difference here as well. And here you can notice this sound, E, comes from French word sir or firm, that is the German word. So, as it is used in that. So, my dear students, the purpose of showing you these slides with the pronunciation symbols of vowels in Old English was to make you familiarize with how they are represented, how they are shown as symbols in Old English, and also to give you some instances or some examples of how they are pronounced. The pronunciations that I have used here as examples are those of early West Saxons, as far as we can reconstruct them here. Of course, my pronunciation would not, and for that matter, nobody's pronunciation, no student or learner of the history of English languages pronunciation would exactly match the pronunciation that they would have. And also that we have the constraint of not being the native speakers of English. So these minor differences in pronunciation would always be there. However, the main point for us to understand is that the Old English pronunciation had its certain features with reference to vowel sounds.